Hey everybody, today we have an amazing success story with one of my clients, Laurie. She is just absolutely wonderful. I'm so excited she's going to be sharing with you guys today all of her manifesting successes. She's literally manifested pretty much everything. So if you're trying to manifest anything in the realms of love, career, appearance, feeling state, you name it, she's literally done it all. And she's going to explain exactly what it was like to go through coaching together and how she achieved these amazing results. Before you started with coaching, where were you? And tell us a little bit about how it unfolded.
Yeah, so I first contacted you when I was at one of my lowest times in my life. I was going through an unexpected divorce. It's been about a year, and I was just at a spot that I never thought I'd be in. 49 years old. The ex-husband just up and left suddenly. And I was just not expecting it. And what it did is it really just, my self esteem just sunk. The thought, even though the age is not supposed to matter, but the thought of being single at nearly 50 was overwhelming. You go, okay, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong here? And then you start really kind of self criticizing. And so I came to you because I wanted to understand how I could improve who I am. And honestly, because I was so heartbroken, I wanted to figure out, like, how do I get him back? It's light years away now, and that's not the story anymore, but at that time, that's why I came to you. And I was having nightmares, and I was in a depression, and I was just having a hard time focusing on my job, on myself, on anything, because I was so consumed by this sense of rejection. So coming to work with you really just changed my whole life, and I will forever be grateful for everything that you've done for me, because then you helped me think about what are all the aspects of your life, and let's create a dream life together. And that was the starting point of really a huge shift in all aspects of my life. And now the way I think is shifted in a different way. The way that I approach all the different aspects of my career, of my self love, of my relationships, of all the aspects of me have completely shifted into another level. And on top of that, I am on such a happy high vibe compared to where I was a year ago, where I was in a deep depression and self reflective and criticizing myself. I am on the other end of the spectrum where I'm so glowed up and so excited about life. My energy level is really just tremendous compared to where I was there, because I also have a history of health issues as well, which I know we're going to get into that. But yeah, to the point where I had never had a tattoo before, but I got a tattoo in dedication and honor of the work that you've done with me, because one of the first aspects of the work was self-love. And so I got a tattoo on my rib cage that says amor propio in Spanish, which means self-love. And so that is how much this work has shifted my life.
So beautiful. And it means so much to me. It really does. That's why I do this work, because it's just so amazing to see people's transformations and how people just step into their greatest versions. And you really have stepped into your greatest version. It feels like it's just been a constant fun adventure, right? Like every week is something
Totally.
new.
Totally. Yeah.
So I know a lot of people in the manifestation community want to manifest back exes and old loves and stuff like that. And I'll just touch on it for a minute, because that was the original reason. You had that option. We went through that, and we actually were able to kind of get past that, though, and get into really, what do you want out of a relationship? What do you really want out of life? Not just out of like this one scenario. And I know a lot of people get trapped in the feeling of, I want this one thing and this thing is eluding me, and it brings them down and makes them depressed. But the point of this is to really help people rise above and to get the things that they really want, really paint this amazing picture for your life, like a 360 view. And we really did that, which I'm so happy about for you. So that's where you started. Where do you find yourself right now?
I'm currently in a very happy, successful relationship with someone who meets pretty much everything on that list. Like there's 40 items, and I think that's like 35 of the things. It's not that he's meeting it, it's that together we're in a really healthy relationship together where it matches that energy that you and I worked on together. So I would say that that was what I initially came to you for, was relationships. But then we went beyond that, and focused on different aspects of my career, even beyond what my current career is, and really thinking outside the box. My body, my health, my physical appearance, all the different aspects, money, bringing more money in. It's all been kind of like it's become a little easy for me, to the point where I'm able to think it and then it kind of arrives with sometimes within minutes. And it's at first it felt like I was going on an uphill mountain, but what shifted for me was that you taught me to control my thoughts. And what I've learned about myself through this entire process is that I have been ruminating on negative thoughts for probably most of my life. And I think most humans are and do that. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with all the things that have happened to us, right? So the things that happened to me in my childhood, I'm a breast cancer survivor, the trauma of going through that process, the divorce itself is a form of trauma. All the different things that have happened, they create these negative narratives in your head, and you taught me to control those thoughts, right? To the point where you had me write down all my thoughts. And once I started like logging all of my thoughts, I came to the realization that most of these thoughts are actually negative, and most of them are not actually true. They're just ruminated thoughts in my head, that don't do any justice for anybody. So then you taught me to course correct. So every time I would have a negative thought, I course corrected and went back to like, what's the vision here, right? And so once I was able to continually do that, that's when I really started seeing things shift in my reality and also in the way that I feel about life. And that's what kind of got me into the high vibe, is controlling those thoughts.
So true. And the results really speak for themselves. We'll go into more detail as we go. Really, results start very quickly when you start to do these things, right? So didn't you see results pretty much immediately, right? When we started working together, like some of your first manifestations started to come together, I remember quite early.
You and I talked about how to manifest more money. And so I was like, going through a divorce is tough because you're splitting the bills with everybody. And all of a sudden, now I got to handle all the mortgage and all the bills on my own. So I was getting a little anxiety about that. So you're like, let's shift that. So within a month, I got promoted. And it really was amazing because I didn't actually do anything for it. It just like my boss wanted to make it happen, but I had to go through the interview process and all that, so it was fair for any other candidate. But the interview process was easy. Everything just fell into my lap. It was incredibly easy. It just happened on its own. I didn't have to try. And then when it came to the part where I had to, figure out like, what do I want my salary to be? I got a promotion. I was in the mindset of, okay, well, I'm nervous to ask. And I kept like, I kind of was getting caught up in the thought of it. Okay, maybe I should ask for an additional $5,000. And I was thinking that, but then I was like, you know what? Nope. You're getting stuck in the negative thoughts. And then why only 5,000? How about you just let it all go and just let the universe fall into place for you and believe, right? And trust, just like you've taught me. And so lo and behold, I just get this email from HR saying, all right, well, you got the job and your salary is increased by an additional $15,000. And I'm like, what? That's my dog ringing the bell. And that he rings that
That
bell.
was about for money also,
What is happening? It's like an angel ringing the bell, whatever.
Yep.
So that to me was just like, whoa, that's so cool. So I kept seeing what's cool about the work is when it works, it's like this validation. And then you just get so excited. And then you're like, well, I'm going to try that again. And then another validation. And so the more that these happen on their own, the more that you trust and believe. And the more that you trust and believe, the more stuff comes to you in a way that is just super easy. And it's just honestly, it's not hard work for you at all.
It's amazing. And you've had more promotions since then. I remember, let's start a little bit with the career now, because I think the career part, you really excelled and you really broke through a lot of limiting beliefs that you had about yourself in the career.
Yeah, I always thought I would like to be the president of my organization. And I thought I'd aspire to that. I got my master's degree and my doctorate thinking that I needed to do that to land this position. And so I thought that's always what I wanted to be. So I was the associate vice president when I first came to you. And then within a month or so, I was promoted to the vice president. And then all these circumstances happened where the president was let go. And so there's now, an opportunity to, if I wanted to, apply for the president position. But because I've been doing this manifestation work for you, I'm not sure that that's my life mission anymore. But what's cool is that there was an option there that didn't seem like could be on the table at all for me to apply for it. And if I wanted to, I could. But at this point, we'll talk more about it, but I'm shifting to other ideas.
Yes, yes, which is awesome. And you're really starting to pursue more of the things that you really, really love, and bringing out the things that you love and the things that you already do, which is so important, right? You can do something specific and not really be shining in it, not really be bringing your authentic self to the
Yes.
table, which is a lot of what Laurie is very into. And that's why we resonated so well. Let's talk a little bit about your relationship, because this to me is just one of the most wonderful manifestations. It's just like such a nice, neat bow to how it started, and yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
I went through the breakup and was really kind of focused on how do I look better, appearance, because I thought, okay, I'm single again, I got to look good. Um, and it seems so artificial at this point, but back then that's where my brain was. And so basically, I was able to manifest dating other men. And that was fun because I was being asked out kind of like everywhere I went by very people that were not in my age range because people thought I was much younger. So, I was able to manifest a lot of proposals of people asking me out in parking lots, in grocery stores, in the gym, in cafe. Like it was like crazy. I could not believe it, how crazy this was. I went from having no game to all this game. Um,
Yeah.
and it was just like what I think I needed at the time to build my self-esteem. So I thought I needed that. And I went on a few dates, and but in the end, it doesn't satisfy your soul, right? To just have a relationship that is maybe artificial or not for the right reasons, and they weren't in my age range. So I decided, like, okay, let me go ahead and stop dating. I know now that I can manifest people asking me out. I was concerned about that, and I was concerned about my appearance. That's not an issue. So let me work with you on this list of what I want long term in a partnership. I got to the point where I stopped dating because I was like, you know what? Let me I just wanted to just let it happen in the way that felt the most comfortable and the most energy connected to it and the most chemistry. And that was one of the things on the list, was that the chemistry is instant. When we see each other, we'll know it. And that was like one of the top things on the list. And then I was invited to a brunch by a friend of mine who was turning 50. And a few of us girls were going to go. And I had to drive out of the city to this brunch. And it was all girls at the brunch, but there was one guy there. And I didn't know he was going to be there, but I actually know him from college 27 years ago. And so, I went up to him and I said, hey, how's it going? How's the wife and kids? And he said, oh, I'm going through a divorce. And I was like, oh, well, I am too. And so we sat next to each other, and it was only 5 people at this brunch, but he and I instantly hit it off. And we just vibed and connected instantly. He started texting me, and we started texting back and forth. Next thing I know, I'm on my first date with him. And it was instant, everything on this list, seriously. And he is in my age range, and we are still in a partnership and have been seeing each other for 6 months at this point. And it's been really just amazing. There's been no barriers. I have no concerns because I have so much faith and trust in this process. So it's such a relief to feel this way in a relationship, that you don't have to worry about the way you look. You don't have to worry about if someone's going to come take your man. And that should have been a trigger for me, because that's what happened in the last relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so good and feel so amazing that I don't have any concern or worry about it whatsoever. And so what's crazy is he was having a conversation with someone that I knew. He and I mutually knew 27 years ago. So I knew him 27 years ago, but we never talked. So we'd see each other at a few things, but we don't even remember. We don't remember having a conversation. So we're like, that's so weird. We never talked because we totally get along, but that's odd. So anyway, he's having a conversation with one of his good friends. And he said, hey, I'm dating somebody. You might know her. Here's her name. And he's like, oh, yeah, I remember her. And he goes, hey, that's weird because I was just going through these old photo albums and I saw a picture of you and her. And he's like, wait, no, we didn't ever have a conversation. We just knew of each other. And he goes, no, 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 I found a picture of you and her and I can send you a picture. And it was like so old, 27 years ago. There was only actual pictures, not on your phone. And so he said, I'll send it to you right now. So he sent the picture of me and him. It is only me and him in this picture. And it looks like we're like dating. And so we're like, wait, what's happening here? It's like this time thing, this lapse in time of some sort. And so we're still both in awe of this picture that it exists, and B, that we're like in this picture looking like we're in a couple or something.
It is just so amazing because, this is long before Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and all this stuff. So this random person kept a photo in
Yes.
their basement of a hard copy of you
Yes.
and this guy who you're now dating 30 years later and just happened to have it.
Yes. And this guy lives in Arizona. We live in California. It's just
Right.
like a whole, it was really incredible. And when they say like when you're with the right person, or there's like all these things that happen. What's cool about it is in this partnership, things are just falling into place. It's not work. It's easy. There's no drama. And so, it's in a flow.
It's amazing to see like this level of relationship. How does this compare to past relationships that you've had, or like the level of, quality, intimacy, harmony, that kind of thing?
Well, now that I understand myself a little bit more, I understand that I was chasing after a kind of man that was not the right man for me, as we often do. And we learn, and once you learn how to break that pattern, then you are able to bring in the right person for yourself. You have a type. I had like a type. The type was not working, but I had the same repeated type. But you taught me, don't look at the characteristics of the type, right? But when I analyze it and understand it better, it's really that I was looking for somebody who was not really fully emotionally present. And also, I was, focused on a certain type of look. And that, of course, doesn't matter. And you can tell yourself all day that doesn't matter. But until you get the energy of the right person, the beauty really is skin deep, right? And this guy's attractive, don't get me wrong. Amazing guy on all levels. Um, but it's just totally not the type I would normally have gone for. And so I really was able to break the pattern of this type of person that just kept having abandonment issues. I've had 3 long-term relationships, all similar-ish type of person, and they all 3 abandoned me for another person. And so I had to break that pattern. And so I believe the authenticity of this person's communication style is so opposite of the others that I'm at a different level in terms of what I'm able to attract now.
Yeah, so we definitely broke cycles, right? This is the whole thing, is that when you see a similar pattern happening again and again in your life, it's because there are deeper beliefs that we hold that are creating that pattern over and over again. And it's very important to be able to recognize it and dismantle those beliefs so that you can finally start attracting the level of love and connection and partnership that you actually want in this life, that's actually going to make you happy, and that's going to fulfill you. And you guys are just adorable together. Like, she really made a list of all of these things that she wanted in a relationship, like down to these very small details that you can't even, like, you would think like that's so random, right? But no, he has all of those things.
He has all those things. Yeah, I got very detailed on my list. Yeah, it's really what I really appreciated about this process is you really helped me break down how my childhood issues connect to who I'm attracting.
Mhm.
Um, And so, we talked a lot about my mom and my dad and stuff happening at home as a child, and how, the abandonment of that, the issue happening in my childhood. I had an alcoholic father. And so dealing with that was, I never really fully understood or dealt with it. And now also it sounds trite, but it's like we follow that same pattern of we date the same kind of guy,
Mhm.
right? I was just falling into that trap. And until you encouraged me to do a lot of journaling and just break out of that cycle and understand that that is my pattern.
When you first came to me, I'm sure you didn't think your life was going to be like this now a year later, right?
Yeah, I mean, a big shift for me. So I mentioned I'm a breast cancer survivor. I also had Lyme disease for many years. I've always kind of had problems with illness throughout my childhood and most of my life. And so there's clearly some sort of pattern in there that was keeping illness a part of who I was. Um, and uh, when I went through the radiation treatment, I lost a lot of my hair, and I also got these really horrible patches all over my skin. I don't know why, but they were these dark patches that I couldn't control. And I had those patches for about 7 years, and it's a lot of makeup. I tried everything. I went to every dermatologist. I went everywhere I could to figure out how to cover these up. Um, and and then, that was what we actually, you said, what do you want to manifest? And I'm like, okay, here's the health stuff I want to manifest. And one of them is I would like clear skin. And so once we started working on the vision, and I did a mirror exercise that you told me to do. So every time I look in the mirror, even though I could see visibly these horrible dark patches all over my face and my nose, um, I would instead do this mirror activity of talking to myself that my skin is incredibly clear and beautiful and youthful. And and over time of doing that over and over and over, but believing it, that's the key part, because I would say it, but it's hard to believe it when you see the patches on your skin in the mirror. So constantly thinking it and believing it was part of the formula for success. And then so random, I got a text like after about a week and a half of doing
Yeah,
that. I got
it's
a
like
text
right away.
in LA, and she's like, "Hey, heads up. I know you've struggled with your skin. There's this product that you should try, but I've done it. It changed my skin." And so, she's not a super close friend, but she's more of an acquaintance. And so I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." So I looked into it. Long story short, I got the product. It's like a peel, had the peel. My skin is like so beautiful. Not to brag about myself,
No,
but
but really, it's your skin is like I've seen the transformation. Her
right,
skin
you
is
have,
flawless. Look at it right now. She has
yes.
such beautiful skin. You would never think in a million years that this was something that she actually had on her list that she wanted to improve. You're 49, right?
I'm 50, just turned 50.
Just turned 50.
Yeah, and I think the manifestation and the conversation around like, manifesting a youthful skin, I have a lot of, that's why I was getting asked out by all younger people, because they just think I'm much younger. Which is amazing. Genetically, my family, they tend to look young, right? But not this young. Like I literally am just like, wow, my skin is looking good. So so that, like, and that's how I find everything that comes to me. It comes in these weird circumstances
Mhm.
that literally fall into my lap, and that's when I know it's a manifestation. Is that you taught me clear skin was one that I wanted. The other one, in terms of my health, was that I wanted to feel physically strong. Now I'm thin, I'm skinny, and I've always been thin my whole life, but I never have had very much muscle or tone. And so all these circumstances came together. I got this amazing trainer, and I actually have muscles now, and muscles in the right places. And I'm always showing everybody my biceps. It's so annoying, but I'm just like so proud of the fact that I'm toned,
Yeah.
and that's also why I look younger, I think, than my age, because I'm very toned in addition to that. And now I'm like super hooked on weightlifting and running and all that. I've always been athletic, but I've always been like too skinny and not a lot of curves. And so I was like, I want some curves up in here, so um so feeling I'm feeling strong physically. So I was able to manifest that as well. And I'm really, really like
Yeah, you're in your best shape
overly
ever.
proud and showing off my biceps to everybody who doesn't ask.
Yeah, you're in your best shape and you've done it at 50. And I think there's one thing I really wanted to mention here because I think so many people get discouraged. They're like, oh, of course that person did that. They're 20 years old or they're 25 or 30. But it's just not true. You really can break patterns at any age, at 50, at 60, at 70. It really doesn't matter. It actually doesn't take a year, 2 years to do it. You can literally get massive shifts in your life within a few weeks to a few months. You can really see your entire life turn around. And that's what's true for my clients. That's what happens for my clients. And Laurie is a perfect example of that. So Laurie, like, what would you say to people who think like, oh, I'm too old to make changes in my life, or, it's never been like this before for me. So why would it be like that now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you see this over and over that people say, age is just a number. But really, when you change your mindset, you start to really not only feel it, but then others start saying to you, it's not even age. It's just like, what do I want for my life right now?
Mhm.
Right. And it doesn't matter, right? I just happen to want to manifest a youthful skin, and looking youthful, right? I heard J Lo say she was on being interviewed by Oprah the other day, and she was just like, she has an I am statement around because she looked good, right? And she's like older than me. But you could do that. But it's really around now that I understand. Back then, I feel like I was at this very basic level of understanding when that was important to me. But now it's beyond looks, right? It's really how do I want to feel in my skin? And how I want to feel in my skin is a strong, confident, and happy person. And so I'm in that space right now. And I have been in that probably within 3 to 4 months of working with you. I got on this high vibe, and I haven't been off of it.
She's
Um,
never come down.
I haven't come down.
She hasn't come down off the high vibe for like literally like 7, 8, 9 months. Like she's been just up here, and everything that she's wanted to manifest has just been like this easy, easy, easy. Why? Because she's completely shifted her identity. She shifted who she is at a core fundamental level. She shifted all the ways that she thinks, the different patterns that she held inside. People are always like, what technique do I run? What affirmation do I say? But it's really so much deeper than that. And that's why it's important to, either work with yourself in a very deep way to understand these things. And there's just, it depends where you are, or to work with a practitioner who can help you uncover that, who can help you really see like, what are the things that you're actually thinking? What is going on in your deep subconscious, right? And so we bring that to the surface, and then we work on it in a very systemized way with different techniques depending on where people are. And that's how we get these kinds of massive results, because we're not just trying to get like one thing, right? We're trying to really change who you are at the core, and really bring out the best of who you are at the core, and really bring to light the parts of yourself that maybe you have closed off in your life, or the parts of yourself that you have thought you couldn't be that anymore. People have told you a million times in your life, you can't be that, you can't have that, right? So you start to think that that's true. And so that's the whole idea, is to really like bring those things to light, and then everything just reflects that, right? The world is just reflecting who you are.
You taught me how to constantly stay in the high vibe, right? And the shift thinking and the self talk and all of that. I always play some hyped song, and it goes on my Sonos system, and it fills my house with just happiness. And so I just get up dancing. So I like start my day with super high vibe. And then now I go to the gym at 5 a.m. I am not a morning person. And now I can't believe it, but I'm at the gym at 5 a.m. I'm like, who is this person? Like, I've completely shifted who I am on so many different levels in terms of habits as well as the norm. I normally tend to sleep in a little bit more, and I tend to stay up really, really late. So it's just shifting who I am. I'm eating differently as well. I feel healthier than I have felt. My body looks the best it's looked since I ran track in high school, honestly. And so, it's like, it's about how that vibe and creating that vibe before you go to bed at night. And then also when you wake up in the day, how do you want to start your day? I try and create and fill my home with aspects of being on a high vibe all of the time. I don't watch the news. I like stopped all the, subscriptions you have that bring you down, and I basically have Apple Music on all the time, and there's like ones that are like happy music. You're like, hey Siri, play happy music, and then it's like all this happy music. So there's ways, like very practical things that you can do to make your vibe on a really high level as well.
That's a good point what you brought up about not having, not listening to the news and stuff like this. I think the reason why so many people get so discouraged in life about the things that they want is because there's just it's constant bombardment from all social media, from media, from TV shows, from movies about like how dating goes, how life is supposed to go, how your career is supposed to go. And we're so programmed by that you're not really in the moment with what's actually happening in your life. You're living your life based on statistics and what
Yeah.
this one person said on TikTok and all of this stuff, and not living from your true vision, right? And so when we start really living from the vision and we block out all of that noise, it actually gets easy. Life gets easy. It's not like there's
Mhm.
no games, there's no dating manipulation, there's none of that, right? None of that was involved in anything that you do. It just happens
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah, and I based on your advice, so I stopped watching the news. I also stopped going on Facebook and Instagram. Every once in a while I'll go on and post something, but pretty much I stopped that. I also read an article about how there's like depression correlated with looking at your social media account. And I just did some self-reflection on, it's a lot of it is like what people think of me and their approval of me, and I don't want to care about that right now.
Mhm.
Um, and so I just kind of cut that out. And so I just like constantly thinking about where do I want my energy to be right now?
Mhm.
And where do I want to spend my time? I have very limited time. So what are the spaces that would make me the happiest? Every once in a while I'll go down a little road. I'm like, wait, you're going down the bad road. You got to bring it back up, stop the thought, course correct, think of a positive thing to shift the energy, and then get back. Then it brings you back into that zone, turning on some great happy music, like shifting the energy back into it, and then you're good. But I had to learn that because it's not easy. You don't shift instantly. There's some corrections you have to make along the way.
Right. And I think that that's part of why, people get frustrated is that they don't understand that this is a process. It's a skill. They're learning a real skill, right? This is a tangible skill that now that you have it, you can apply to every single thing in your life, and you're going to constantly grow in different ways. And, you've reached this amazing new level, like in such a short period of time, your life is completely changed, right? But it doesn't stop here. You're gonna change. I can't even wait to see what you're gonna do in the next year. It's just gonna be crazy. Did you think that your life would be like this? Did you think you would get to this point in your life? Was it like even on your radar before we started working together?
No, I think honestly, I was stuck in a little bit more of ego, and like you've said, ego's okay, but I was a little bit caught up in that, in terms of what is expected of me based on society standards, and I lost myself in that. Right, so you're like, okay, what kind of career what position should I have, like the title, right? What kind of partner should I have, based on maybe what they do? What kind of home should I live in? You get caught up in the standards of what you think you were told, or again, what you see on Facebook, or all these different, like, what is the standard? And it's like this process has allowed me to throw the standard out the door. It's like, what's my happiness? And really, who am I authentically? And so spending some time and understanding that has been the most helpful for me, because it's brought me back to who I truly am. And I don't think I really understood who I really was. And we're constantly in exploration of that. And I'm really spending time at my job, for example, now, of how do I bring my authentic self into this space? And the work you're doing with me now is how do I change the environment around me at my job so that things fall into place a little bit easier? Because there's aspects of our job that we love, and there's aspects of our job that are just tedious. And you're like, I have to do that. It's part of the job. But how do we remove the tedious part so that you get to do the fun, creative part that you love?
And we
Um,
and we already removed a lot of a lot of things like emails and, you know,
yes,
very time wasting things and time consuming things that weren't enjoyable. Like we've already up leveled a lot on those things, but yeah, we just keep going, keep creating more and more and more. And actually, on that note, I would love to talk a little bit about, you know, life purpose, because that is something that I work on a lot with my clients, to give this feeling and sense of direction in where they're trying to go in their life, and what are they here really to create, and what are they passionate about, and what do they stand for, and what are their values. So, you know, what where are you in that part of the journey right now, and what are you working on?
yeah. So I'm working on developing a YouTube channel. And the purpose of the channel is to get folks to get back to their authentic selves, right? And to think about, like, who are you really? Have you explored that? And then what aspects of your authentic self do you bring into your career, into your workplace, into your relationship, all aspects of your life? So it's really about examining who you are, getting back to that, and bringing it into the space, and creating an opportunity for you to explore that. So that's my current project now, is creating this YouTube channel so that I can have other guests that have been really doing really well at that work. But also creating a space to just have a discussion with just everyday folks around what are parts that you of yourself that you have brought into your job, that you've been good at, and what are other ways to expand your full self. So it's about authenticity, but it's also about like breaking norms, right? Because we are all working within these traditional, organizations, and I work in the field of education, and that is, it's seeped in tradition, and there's like the way you do things. Well, how do we break that norm? So this YouTube channel is about that too. So I'll be bringing in guest speakers to talk about how they're breaking the norm within their workspace, by bringing their authentic selves into it. But how are they changing the standard of how work gets done?
So I think it's amazing that you're doing that, and I can't wait to see what you create. And of course, I'll link your channel for people who want to subscribe in advance before it comes out, and see what you're going to create. I'm sure it's going to be amazing and super valuable. So in this whole journey that you've gone through with coaching and this whole process of uncovering yourself, you know, what is the greatest thing that you think you've really gained?
I would say, really reinventing myself so that I could dream to the biggest dreams that I never thought of. And even now, the dreams that I've written on that piece of paper together with us on the Google Doc, I feel like I can surpass them now. So I grew up in a low income community, and mostly migrant community, people who work in the fields. And it's all Mexican American community, which I adore where I grew up. But the dreams for me were small because I didn't have a lot of examples to look at. And so literally when I was in my high school diploma, high school yearbook, it's my dream was to become an executive secretary, and that was my dream. I, at the time, was like, whoa, if I could be that, I have made it. Because my mom cleaned houses for a living, my dad milked cows, we're just like, it was just like, seemed like very, like if I got a high school diploma and a bachelor's degree, I've surpassed my parents, right? But then when I got the master's degree and the doctorate, I was like, okay, we can do something bigger here, right? So my dreams were small, but now I have an executive assistant that reports to me, right? So it kind of reminds me that, tell that story because it reminds me of now where my brain is, right? My brain was, the dreams were smaller. And now I look at the dreams that I've developed on this Google Doc with you, and I want to go past them now. And so what this process has done for me is it's cleared my head, removed a lot of the barriers and a lot of the muck, and just got rid of like a bunch of stuff that was just stuck in there, to allow me a platform to dream. It's almost like that saying of, you got this one life, what are you going to do with it? And it sounds like this common saying, but I actually believe now that I could do anything that I want to do. And I'm getting evidence of it every day. It's actually the point where it's just decide what I want and then just bring that into my life. So that's the biggest takeaway I have, is that I'm almost like peeled off the layers of like a lizard, like I'm a whole nother person, right? I'm in a new skin now.
That's wonderful. And my new coaching program is coming out very soon, very exciting. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people watching this who are considering, should they invest in coaching? Is it worth it? Or should they maybe go on their own and try it their own? What do you think? What has been your experience?
After going through the problem with the divorce, I actually decided to get you and a therapist, a psychologist as well. And so I did both of those processes. And then at some point, the psychologist like fired me. He's like, you're great. He's like, you are to the point where you can actually mentor and coach me, because I was learning from you and I was bringing it into that session.
Yeah.
So I thought that was amazing. And I finished that after, a few months, I think 6 months or so, and then came into this work. And when I was freed of all of that stuff and the trauma, I was able to be more present here with you. And I was able to shift my thinking to be able to dream, like you were encouraging me to dream at another level, to just remember and reflect on the fact that I came back to you over a breakup, to the point now where I've completely shifted all aspects of my life. It just feels like so elementary the reason I came to you and where I am now. It's just, it's basically, all the different aspects of my life are completely shifted and in a level of positivity that I never thought I could dream of.
That's just beautiful. That's really wonderful. And that's the whole point. So thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. And if you guys are interested in having this kind of transformation, if you guys want to be my next success story and do an interview just like this on the channel for everyone to see how you've leveled up in your life, all the information for my new coaching program is down in the description below. So you guys can check it out over there. And I will see you guys in the next video.